believe. We did that
That's
interview.
it was over the phone. And I
Yeah,
was like, oh, this is so cool. Today we get to see each other.
yeah, and this film is kind of a 180 departure from Wives of the Sky.
Absolutely. You got that right. So different, right?
Yeah, I mean, I almost got to feel like it was almost like a Twilight Zone episode with everything that was going on in it, which I really appreciate.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you. Yeah, that's I will say that's a huge compliment and for them. Yeah. Yeah, I obviously I didn't write and direct this. I was just
Yeah,
acting and I must say that when I first read the script, there was that I did feel that kind of had that Twilight Zone element as well. A little bit, you know.
and I also felt like they didn't take themselves too seriously, which a lot of like lower budget independent films like this seem to do a lot lately. Is they try to take themselves a little bit too serious. I think they're like
Yeah.
more clever than they are, and I just felt like they kept it within, not to like downsize the film or anything because it's good, but it's like they didn't try to outthink themselves. Pretty,
Yeah, they
pretty
kept
much.
the humor in there because there is humor. They're
Yeah.
definitely they weren't afraid of like going with that. I will agree with you completely, and that was important too. In the way that I believe that the director went for it. Obviously
Yeah.
play it very real and let the humor come out. But I mean, just things intrinsic within it were funny. Like the frying pan. It's just like this kind of high comedy.
Yeah. And with them trying to spell out stuff within the pictures too was
Yeah, yeah.
comical at points. Yeah, like especially when they were like doing the whole YMCA kind of stuff was kind of comical when they were doing that.
Agreed. Oh my God. I think you really nailed it there. Yes, I will agree with you. And we were able to, even though there was a lot of things in there that were kind of sad sometimes in my character, we did have a lot of laughs, I will say.
Yeah, and it never did get too like soap opery too, with like the sadness that your character dealt with. Like it never really frayed from what it ultimately wanted to be, which was another big thing about this film as well, which I really appreciated. Like it didn't take a huge leap into like a whole different genre. It stayed with what it wanted to do
Yeah.
throughout.
Well, thank you very much for saying that, and I will agree. Yeah, thank you. That's a huge compliment as well. They the lady who wrote it, Felicity Mudgett, who she was very always very accessible and hands-on. So if we had questions and things like that, because there's always sometimes it was up for interpretation, different things in the script, but so she was accessible, and that made it really wonderful as a working environment.
Yeah, and I'm always interested to see if they did leave things open in the script. Do
Hmm.
you have a chance to like broaden your character's backstory a little bit? Like if you have time to speak with the writer of the film and the director of the film, like if you think this would be a good direction to put your character's motive, or did they just have the backstory that panned out when you wrote the screenplay?
Well, I would say she did pretty much write most everything in there. How I interpreted it, I'm not sure was there. I think it came as a little bit of a surprise to them, certainly in the callbacks, and because they seem to, because I wasn't sure how far they wanted to go in the sadness arena, but I just play it for real, and so I just like went full out with the tears and everything, and I thought this could be completely wrong, but I'm just make this choice because I don't know how to halfway do it. And I think it was that interpretation might have been slightly different than other people brought to it, so they went for it. So I was really glad. But at the same time, there were sometimes that I had questions, and Felicity was really helpful there, and as well as Terry, the director, had her vision, so that was helpful because actors really like to be directed.
Yeah,
Sometimes you don't get directed. It's like, yeah, well, I don't know. So they were both very present. So that helped me a lot. Really did. I feel really grateful about that.
And how did you appreciate this just being your show? Because it was after you did Wives of the Skies, excuse me. And then you started in this film. How was it transitioning from being a director into now you're acting again in
Yeah.
this one? And you were so fantastic. So how did you deal with this transition?
Well, I thank you so much. You really, it was funny. The order kind of went like this. I shot this film, and then I was in pre-production for Wives while I was shooting this film. And then we did Wives afterwards. So then I came back to this film to do a lot of the technical voiceover and things like that. So it was like bookend with Wives of the Skies. And it was hard to a little bit zigzag. But one of the cool things is like the makeup lady from Sweet Taste of Souls. Her name is Francia Cohen. She's so good. She was my makeup lady for Wives of the Skies, and my production designer I got from Sweet Taste of Souls also. So it was nice to be able to work with some of the same people again, and it really, having made this movie first before Wives, it did put me in that mode of a little bit with the director thing, because we were in it. We shot this thing for a month, and we were on location somewhere away from home and just with each other in a house, and some of the locations in this little tiny mountain town. So that kind of being so in it, was like intense. And that's sort of how my experience was with Wives also. It was 6 months, in 3 months prep, and then shooting and then posting it. It was just like a constant. So it really sets you up for a good work ethic. And it is hard to shift a little bit. It is.
Yeah, and how was it like working with the younger cast in this one? Because they were all so terrific, like they all stood out. They acted like they were actually like veteran character actors acting in this film, and just it must have been marvelous to really watch them act with you on this film.
Yeah, they're so good. There are all four of them are so amazing, and I so enjoyed them as people because we all lived together, and they were such strong personalities. Each and every one of them, just forget about the acting, just individuals, and watching them, and they worked together so well. Like I believe their relationships. So,
Yeah, because it seems like they were really in like the relationships the characters had with each other, which was great to see. Because a lot of films kind of force you to kind of believe that these people are in a relationship and it doesn't mess well. But in
yeah.
Sweet Taste of Souls, it really did work,
Oh,
in my opinion.
absolutely. People, when they see it, they need to look at these actors, and because they're the future. I mean, they're so good and lovely to work with on top of it. And I actually learned a lot from each one of them. I really did. And it was a pleasure. And I'm still in contact with most of them. So, and I love that. That says a lot about your working environment when you stay in touch with the people you worked with, especially in this
Yeah.
business. Sort of like one night stand type thing. But not with this movie. We all stayed in touch, and pretty much. And it's really nice. And even months after I finished it, just bumping into them at different jobs or auditions, it was just fantastic. I actually had Sarah in for Wives of the Skies. I would have loved to have had her in there, but there was something, just it just the way it all worked out together. It wasn't going to work out. So, but yeah, she's so good. She really is.
And just that's a perfect segue for my next question. What was some of the fondest memories you've had on the set while filming?
Oh wow, fondest and funny. I have to be honest with you. I'm not a good driver, and at all. So I had to drive from my house and all the way to this mountain town on the roads. So of course
Oh,
I
I
was.
hate mountain roads so much.
Oh, let
And my
alone
sister lives in Asheville, and those roads are so
yes,
narrow.
and
I just,
in the zigzag,
yeah,
and, and and for me, just being on a trip that many hours from my house alone, I was so sure the hill people, were going to come get me. like if I stop, because I know they're out there. And that was like a lot of anxiety to get there. But then I got there, and really, this thing happened a lot towards the end of the trip. But I was like, I was like hyperventilating. I called my brother. I made it. But the funny thing, this is the funniest story. So we shoot in this little pie shop for some of the pies, those scenes. And it's a 5-minute drive from where we're staying down the road. And I said, I'll just take my car to the set today. And I put Francina, my makeup lady, she came with me, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then when we leave, it's 3 in the morning. And I have to drive back with her. And I couldn't do it. I literally stopped in the road and I started crying. I was frozen. I'm like, oh, I can't do this mountain road driving in the dark. I became a real pro very fast, but we're still laughing about
Yeah.
that. It's so scary. I tell you, but that was so good for me because it made me like a driver extraordinaire after that. I'm like,
Yeah. Driving on mountain roads, that can
yeah.
pretty get you up there in a hurry too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was like, woohoo.
Like, I
But,
can't imagine my nephew growing up in Asheville learning how to drive. I'm like, if you can drive in Asheville in those mountain roads,
oh yeah.
you're good.
Well, actually, Aspen has the worst for sure. I mean, out of all the this that yeah, they are by far the windiest, much more than what I had, like literally a 5 mile wind, not like a 200-mile wind. That was it. Otherwise, it was a lot of straight shooting through the mountains. But still, it's like, where am I? So yeah, no, your nephew can be a stunt driver now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Serious, yeah. Yeah, that was frightening to me. I'm like, if I can live through this. Oh my gosh, funny stories.
And how was it like working with the visuals in this film?
Yeah.
Because of how the cast are mainly in the picture frames throughout most of it. So how was it like seeing that happen?
Yeah, that's the greatest question, really, because what you see really is a blank wall. There's nothing there. And then they would have to shoot it sort of like in stop motion, just the blank wall, and measure, the picture frame and measure it. I didn't understand, and shoot it for a minute or however long they needed. And I'm not a FX person at all, so I was really in the dark about what they were doing. And it was difficult as an actor to play to a empty picture. That was like, oh, this is challenging. So I had to really psych myself up there and not feel like crazy doing it. Just like, okay, this is really happening. It was hard. It is hard to work like that. It's so technical. It's like, oh, and then to have to do the work so authentically, it was a challenge, but it was fun ultimately. And I was very happy to see how it all worked together at the end.
That's pretty cool that it was in stop motion too, because I thought that was almost like a completely dead art form now.
Well, it was I may be saying it wrong, but literally
Yeah.
shoot the picture frame and they'd have to time it out. And then when everybody was in the picture frame, we shot that a total like months later in a studio where just like a green screen studio. And we all had to work in that little, oh my God, it was crazy. I'm like, this is so difficult. But it was fun to do. And also to have to go back to the same part months later, you're like, oh, what is it? What was I thinking? So it's challenging, but fun.
Well, honey, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was really fun talking to you again.
And you too. I'm so looking forward to seeing you in person. I hope you have a wonderful holiday and stay safe out there.
You too.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
Have a great night.
Oh, thanks. You too. Take care. Bye.